Alright, so a quick disclaimer on the beginning of this before I actually get into it. This is a school project. This is not my own personal video necessarily, even though it is. This is meant for a school project, school speech that I have to do. Of course, now that we are locked up like this is how we have to do it. So, if you're a regular viewer of my channel, ignore this. If you want to watch it, hey, fine. But this is a school project. So for my teacher, I sent you the slideshow link, shared it with you so you can follow along as I go if you want to. So I'm going to be talking to you about fake news, more specifically, fake news with the mainstream media. So my goal is to get you, the audience, to understand why it is so important for you to do your own research, becoming an independent journalist, also known as a citizen journalist. 2019 Gallup poll shows that 32% of Americans trust the mainstream media. So obviously, not a lot. So how long has fake news been around? Even though it may seem like fake news is a new thing, it is not. Going back to the time of Abraham Lincoln, he put journalists in jail for being what he deemed as dangerous. So, what are the motives to have fake news? The short answer is to create groupthink. Groupthink is creating the illusion that a majority of people agree on something, and so should you. The official definition, groupthink is a psychological phenomenon that occurs within a group of people in which the desire for harmony or conformity in the group results in an irrational or dysfunctional decision-making outcome, cohesiveness, or the desire for cohesiveness. And on this slideshow, I know my teacher can see this, others probably couldn't, but there's a picture here that shows a group of people sitting down at a meeting. The boss is talking, and he's saying, "So, do we all agree?" They, of course, answer yes. One by one, yes, I agree. And the bubbles, they're thinking, no, we don't. But you can see this because the majority has already said, yes, I agree. From the top, yes, I agree. It puts a pressure on the others, even if they disagree, to agree. So, even though they really don't. So that's what this means by groupthink. This means it's being portrayed as the truth or being portrayed as how you should think. Therefore, this is what you should believe because X, Y, and Z believe it too, so should you. So that's groupthink. That is the main motive for having fake news. So, when you think about fake news, you got to think about ways to manipulate the mind. What you see, what you read, and what you hear all go in to make you think a certain way. Take bits and pieces of real news, twist it to make your point. This is an example of fake news. Or it can be just flat out pure fake, meaning no truth. Whereas others, you could take, like I said, bits and pieces, make it towards your point. That is also fake news. So, some questions to ask yourself when talking about fake news in the mainstream media, more specifically. What happens when 90% of the media is controlled and owned by 6 corporations? What happens when those same corporations are operated and controlled by a political ideology? Same thinking. What happens when the news is no longer free from bias, no longer reliable and independent, no longer trustworthy? What happens when the news simply becomes an extension or an arm of a political party? Fact is fiction, fiction is fact. When does news become propaganda instead of news? How is it spread? How's fake news spread? How has it become such a big deal that everybody's talking about it? The president's talking about it, the media's talking about it, citizens are talking about it. It's spread by you. Yes, you. By not doing your own research, you could be spreading and sharing by simply retweeting, by mouth, sharing, texting. There was an example of this when a blonde-haired lady was caught on camera saying racist things towards someone. Somebody seen this on social media, mistaken it for their local news show anchor. By word of mouth, social media, etc., this was spread and of course caused a mass panic with the real anchor trying to explain it was not her and maintain her reputation. Obviously, if it wasn't her, this caused a big problem because now people are seeing this in our area saying that's so-and-so on the news. Now you're fighting this huge battle trying to create your state, trying to, how am I saying this? Make your case, rather, that it's not you. Now you got to prove that it's not you. This obviously is a big problem. This is one of the reasons why fake news is such an issue. So, 2016 fake news. 2016 and around that time was obviously election. It was a vicious time between candidates, between party, between news. This is a prime opportunity for fake news because everybody is caught up in what is going on, and a lot of people will believe a lot of the headlines. They say you make your opinion on something within seconds of reading it. I believe it's shorter than that, actually. But anyway, so some examples. One of the examples that was floating around on social media was that Donald Trump's grandfather was a pimp, a tax evader, and his dad was a member of the KKK. None of this is true. This is all completely false. However, if you are scrolling through Facebook and you see that, that's going to spark an emotional reaction to where you look at that and go, obviously that's a terrible thing if it were true. But it is not. Therefore, they got a reaction that caused you to think a certain way. If you don't actually look at it and do your research and find out that it wasn't true, you're going to believe that. You're going to go, oh my gosh, that was terrible, and down the line. Now, pertaining to mainstream media as far as Fox, CNN, NBC, MSNBC, we can go down the line. One of the biggest lies that was thrown in our faces, and you might not even realize it. The biggest lie was the final result of the election, that Hillary Clinton had it locked up. That, no pun intended. But basically saying that she was going to win, you can go to bed and know what's going to happen. They were saying that Trump had no chance of winning, which, when you're being told the same thing over and over and over again, you probably come into believing it. Truth is, he did win. So that was obviously false. Now, this opens up a whole new world as far as people are going to want to debate Russia and all this. But the bottom line is, they said there was no shot. Hillary had it locked up. It wasn't even going to be close. This is fake. That was a lie. Regardless. So, now, this is what I do. I talk about sports. I know this is unrelated, but sports news is somewhat similar to the news we have now, as far as mainstream media. The only difference is that sports news is open and clear on what is an opinion and what is actual real fact news. Some sports shows, First Take, Undisputed, these shows are sports opinion shows. You talk about what you believe, your opinion. These shows are like MSNBC, CNN, etc. These are opinion shows. The only difference is they're being portrayed as news and not opinion talk shows. The problem is you get a certain group of people that are gullible, that believe everything they're told. You flip through the TV, you find, CNN. You watch that, and You believe everything you hear because it's being portrayed as news. Same thing with Fox and others. When you don't make it clear that this is an opinion show, which these are, this is the problem. It causes a misunderstanding of the information being portrayed. It's like I talked about. You take bits and pieces, mix them all up, put them out as what goes towards your opinion. This is the problem when talking about fake news. These shows, you can watch them. I have no problem. If you want to watch CNN, whatever. If you want to watch Fox, whatever. But you got to understand that these are opinion shows. These are not cold, hard facts lined up. The NFL has a man by the name of Adam Schefter. He's the guy who breaks the news. If it comes from him, you know it's true. You know, if it comes from one of these shows, per Adam Schefter, then you would know it's true. But if they say breaking news, we don't have any sources, or our sources are not the one that you know is real, if that makes sense. But you get what I'm saying is it needs to be clear that certain networks, certain shows, certain this, and that are opinion shows and not factual news. Now, talking about this, it breaks down into a couple categories because you got to look at it from the standpoint of how it is being viewed. This is why it is so important. This is why I decided to cover this. You have got to know that you know that you know. Meaning, you can't read a headline, think, oh, well, that's true, and then not go do your research, and then go talk to somebody else and say, hey, did you know this is that? Did you know this was in that bill? Did you know this was that? Truth is, that might not be true at all, or maybe bits and pieces true. The problem with fake news is clarity, information. There's an information war going on in today's society, determining what is true, what is fake, what is lies. People don't know who to trust. 30% trust in the mainstream media from Americans. This is a problem. You have got to do your own research. You can't just sit back and listen to what you're being told, is what I'm trying to say. Do your own research. Learn about the topic at hand before you go spread it as fact. This is what I'm telling you. Now you can have your own opinion, whatever, but do your own research. Okay? So, yeah, that's the end. I'm at 13-minute mark. So, thanks for watching. Hopefully I get a good grade. Bye.